Action.
Hi, welcome to Rediscover Your Spirit. I'm Anastasia. This is Douglas. So we've been talking about your spirit nature and your human nature coming in agreement. And when I have the question that when your spirit starts to get bigger in your life and your spirit nature is starting to make more decisions than your human nature, how do you know? How does the spirit manifest in your day-to-day life? What would be some examples of that?
Okay. Well, when I talk about the human part of me and the spiritual part of me, and I'm talking about everybody else too at the same time, we're all made up the same way. I'm talking about the human nature and the spirit nature and how it's different. And I also talk about the fact that if you're spiritually engaged, you're going to depend on the spirit part of you to guide you, to get information about anything that's going on in your life, okay? Not the human part of you. Because the human part of you, like we said before, is limited. It's not sinful, it's just limited. You know, it has to learn things, and it forgets things, and it's very emotional, and all that stuff. Got it? Okay. So here's an example of me and an experience I had where I depended on the spiritual part of me rather than the human part of me.
Okay.
I've been in the medical profession for 49 years, and so I'm very well trained in CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. What that means is putting compressions or banging on a person's chest to keep their heart beating, and also breathing for them because they can't.
I think most people do know what CPR is.
There you go.
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe some don't though.
Maybe they don't.
Yeah. So, I've been trained in that. I've been working in the medical field, like I said, for 49 years. So here I am at a church service, and everyone's standing and they're singing a hymn. And I'm more toward the front part of the church, and I hear somebody yell out, "Is there a doctor?" The proverbial, "Is there a doctor?" Okay, so I turn around and I spot an older gentleman slumped over in the pew. So I run back there. I put my fingers on his neck to check for a pulse. He had none. And at the same time, I'm putting my ear over his mouth to see if he could hear breathing, and there was no breathing. What there was gurgling. When your heart stops or stops beating right, you'll back up with fluid in the lungs, and you'll start hearing gurgling. That's what you'll hear. So I grabbed the man's torso from behind. It just so happened that at that church service there was another physician assistant. This is somebody who's trained by doctors, you know, to practice medicine. He had over 20 years experience, and he also was a medic. That's the medical person in the Vietnam War, running around with Green Beret, which are special forces people during those days. And so he saw a lot more death than I did, right? So anyway, he's in the same service, and he runs over to the man and grabs his legs, and we together bring him out to the foyer of the church and lay him on the ground. So we're kneeling on the other side of the man, and the other medical person checks his pulse and breathing, and no pulse and no breathing, and he looks at me, and he says, "Douglas, what do you want to do?" In that instant, I didn't respond to him. But in that instant, I asked God the same question. I just said, "What do you want me to do?" And in a second, my arms were moving forward, and I was unbuttoning the man's collar. And as soon as I unbuttoned his collar, he came right back. Totally awake, eyes open, he's totally clear-headed. He says, "What happened?"
Yeah.
Sweat pours out of every pore in his body, soaks his clothes practically. And I asked him, "Well, you know, do you have a heart problem?" "No, I have high blood pressure, but I took my blood pressure medicine this morning." "Oh, okay." And that was it. And by that time, an ambulance came, picked up the guy, took him to the hospital. 4 days later, I called the man's doctor, and I said, "Well, what did you find?" He said, "I didn't find anything, Douglas." He said, "I kept him here for 4 days, and I've done every test I know to do. His thyroid, his heart, everything is just normal. I can't find anything wrong. I said, well, what was his blood pressure? His pressure was normal when he got here. Oh, okay, so he didn't have a heart attack? No. He didn't have a stroke? Didn't have a bad heart rate? No. I can't find anything. Okay? So the man was discharged from the hospital. He later on became a friend, you know, but the other medical person at the time that happened, and after he had gone off in an ambulance, he looked at me with a big questionable face and said, "What the hell was that?" And I didn't say too much at that time. I just said, "Wow." That's it. Sometimes you don't explain things like that. For the human part of me, not even I understood it. Okay? But like I said, the human part of you is limited. Our knowledge about world and everything else in medicine is limited. We don't know everything.
Yeah.
Okay? So, at that moment, the point is this. I'm trained. I'm a medical professional. What I should be doing immediately is start pounding on the guy, compressing his chest to beat his heart, and the other guy breathe. When he said, "What do you want to do?" that's what he was asking me. Am I going to breathe the guy and he's going to pound on his chest, or the other way around? That's what he asked me. And I didn't respond. I heard what he said, but then I immediately asked God what to do. And so it was the spiritual part of me that moved my arms and did that. I didn't know to do that. God didn't say, "Go and undo his collar." No. I asked him, "What do you want me to do?" And the next thing you know, my arms are there, I'm doing his collar. I had no idea what to do. That's why I asked. But that's what happened. So when you trust Spirit, even though you've been trained to do something else, guess what? The outcome was better than expected.
Absolutely. We'd like you to have your outcomes better than expected. So keep watching these videos and reading.
Learn about Spirit. Let it guide you and help you through your day. That was an immediate thing I needed to have information about, right? I didn't have time to go look at a book and read something and study it and find out what I should do in that moment, right? There's nothing in a book, any book, that would tell me what to do in that moment.
Right.
Unbutton the guy's collar, okay?
Well,
I have to get that direct, and that's the only way you can get it. And that's what really helps you through your day.
And your outcomes will be better than expected.
Always. Always.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
See ya.